us, the police have their backs now covered if they go out to clamp down on commercial motorbiking. On last Wednesday, Parliament passed the Road Traffic Regulations Act to 2012 Legislative Instrument 2180, which bans Okada business and also driving while talking on mobile phone. Some have lauded this legislation, but we understand the Transport Ministry is working to have it suspended or withdrawn. The Okada riders are also unhappy and say no vote if the legislation goes into effect. So what does the law say specifically, and what informed the law? We'll find out tonight. Can it also be enforced? And you can join us as we go into the issues tonight by sending us your comments to our Facebook page, facebook.com/MultiTV Ghana, and by SMS to short code 1760. I have with me in the studio DSP Alexander Obing to my extreme left, and then DSP Obing is Head of Research, Training and Education at the MTTU. And then I have Albert Akolache, who is President of the Private Motorbikes Association. On the phone, we'll have Joe Oseusu, who is MP for Bekwai and a member of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. Gentlemen, you're welcome to PM Express.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let me start with the police. This must come as good news for you, is it?
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I'm also grateful for your viewers globally and within the country for staying at this time to share in the road safety information. Basically, the state has been in pursuit of solutions and countermeasures that will, as it were, assist the state to ensure that issues of or incidents of road crashes are ameliorated. And since 1952, when vehicles started mixing up with the population up to today, that pursuit of these solutions have been on. No wonder when the 1952 Road Traffic Ordinance number 55 was passed, there has been so many amendments, and till 1974, when we had another major road traffic regulation and prohibitory regulation, including Line 952 and 953 of 1974, that has sustained the state till we had Road Traffic Act 663 of 2004, which has now been, as it were, been operationalized with the coming into effect of the current road traffic regulation under discussion, Road Traffic Regulation 2180 of this year. And the essence of these pursuit and journey is to find solutions to the incidence of road crashes that is impacting negatively on the lives and rights of Ghanaians with regard to number of fatalities that the state is registering and the number of injuries that we are grappling with. No forgetting the thousands of vehicles that are going down the drain among others, particularly with regard to the youth and the resource of this country, including the economically active household entities and heads who are either have had their life truncated and spewing into the system, and a lot of children that do not have those that to take care of, and the thousands that over the years have either been maimed or are carrying permanent scars and have had their spines dislocated, and the pressure that is mounting on our health system, and that is it. So that is the essence of the law, and therefore, if there is anything that Ghanaian wants, is the essence of policing, that to find solutions so that we'll be able to protect life and property, even on our roads. So anything that will come to assist the state through police to ensure that it is enforced and also achieve the maximum compliance to protect you, of course, and my colleague Akulacha and myself and my family. That is the way forward. So we are comfortable.
So, I mean, the question I asked was, this is good news for the police because you are now equipped adequately to go out there and enforce existing rules and legislation.
Like I said, the laws that have been passed, even now, some of them are not new to us, except that it has been wholesale taken from the laws I quoted into these ones, except few ones that have been clarified clearly with modern language that a lot of road users will appreciate. Okay. Otherwise, the police hasn't changed. And with regard to, I think, logistics to support police to do enforcement, I think later on, much discussion will be done on that. But as far as we are concerned, these regulations that have come on board are nothing but things that have been, or measures that have been put in place to maximize the safety of Ghanaians with regard to their lives and properties. And that's why I'm saying, for us, that is what we have given ourselves up to ensure to assist the Ghanaian. And therefore, we are happy because we have been entrusted with this law to ensure its maximum enforcement. If over time we are provided with logistics to ensure its enforcement, good. But it is a step in the right direction. And we are within the Committee of Nations that the UN said last year we have one of the best practices in terms of enforcement of road laws. So
DSP Obeng, walk us through, educate us on exactly what the law seeks to do.
All right. With regard to the new road law we've looked at it. We have at least 4 broad areas. And the 4 broad areas we have for the basic understanding, we have the construction aspect, construction of vehicles. And the construction of vehicles, we are talking about issues regarding standards that vehicle manufacturers are supposed to comply with to ensure that the vehicles that are coming match with our code of standards and all that. And therefore, in the law, you will see issues of conversion of vehicle. If you buy a vehicle, you want to convert it in maybe the cargo vehicle, you want to convert it into passenger carrying vehicle. Are
you referring specifically to the Benz 207 buses, for example? Among others.
Yes, if you want to convert it, it's not going to be like before. You need prior approval from the state through DVLA before any such conversion can be done. That's construction. Even there, we are looking at ties. Formerly, the old law was talking about only one out. Now we know that with regard to ties, we only have to bring label A and B, which has to do with hot weather and normal resistant ties. And then even the tie pressure and gauge, there are certain standards that have been put in to ensure that the tie on which the vehicle runs is competent, strong, and standardized. And so that's when we go, the other aspect, we talk of licensing and registration. That aspect deals with the vehicle that has been constructed to our standard. Has it been registered? Is it found in our vehicle register in the state? And there are issues regarding that in the law. And then licensing of drivers, for example. If the vehicle is now registered, there are laws within this, regulations within this law that requires, for instance, a first-time licensed person who wants to hold a license to go through a certain procedure. And then, for the first time, within a first year, since you are holding the first license, either license A for motor riding or license B for motor vehicle, you basically have to have probation number plate.
Now, we'll come back to the details of the law. Let me quickly jump to you, Mr. Akolache. I know that the commercial motorbike business is on the rise lately, and the argument has been that it provides jobs for the many unemployed youths who would otherwise be on the streets or be found elsewhere. So what do you foresee this ban? It's more like a ban on Okada business. What do you foresee the effect of this ban on youth unemployment, for example?
Actually, I'm very grateful for this opportunity given us once again. And I foresaw this problem. That is why we went to Parliament to seek redress on the law when our attention was drawn to the law that states that we shouldn't use motorbikes for commercial purposes. And then my senior brother here was also part of the people who drew our attention to this law. We decided that since we have Parliament, we need to go there and send our petition to Parliament for a redress. Because my position is that a law that creates unemployment is a bad law and needed redress.
So is this position your position or the entire association? The position
of the association is that a law that creates unemployment is a bad law and needed redress.
Right. I'll go on to the telephone lines for to speak with Joe Osewusu. Now, good evening, sir, if you can hear me.
Yes, good evening.
Now, you were part of those who reviewed the law for passage. Tell me what informed you and the other members of Parliament to pass this legislative instrument 2180.
Well, if you look at the Road Traffic Act 2004, that is what informed the regulations. All the regulations take their root from the 2004 Act. And the basic objective is to achieve road safety. People will say unemployment. What kind of employment are we looking at? If you compare with the number of accidents that all around us, the countries that have engaged in the use of motorcycles for commercial purposes, we pick data from our neighboring countries, Nigeria, Benin, and so on. They took the team round to see the centers, orthopedic centers, the amputations that are going on arising out of accidents from commercial operation of motor vehicles. And we're quite convinced that it does not offer sufficient safety for commuters to use as a commercial means of transport. And again, if you take any motorcycle, any 500 persons, or let's take one Metro Mass bus taking 100 people, it would take 100 motorcycles. They consume more fuel, they emit more effusions, and they pollute the atmosphere more than one bus would do. And eventually they may crowd the other road users out of the road. 100 motorcycles as against one bus. So these are the things that we consider. Safety first, but all the other things which we all considered and thought that it was not the appropriate means of commercial transport.
Now, does the law, as it stands now, provide guidelines as to the distinguished difference between non-commercial and commercial motorcycles?
No. All that there is that motorcycles shall not be used for commercial purposes.
But how do you tell a non-commercial motorcycle from a commercial motorcycle?
You cannot. But what it means is that you cannot register a motorcycle as a commercial for commercial purposes, period.
And we also understand that government is not entirely happy about this law to the point that there are speculations it might be withdrawn.
Well, the law just passed 2 days ago. There were no indication at all that government is not happy. Indeed, the airline was presented by government. We reviewed it, and it passed with the full participation of government ministers and directors from the various ministries, the Ministry of Transport, and so on.
Well, for example, there are concerns from the Association of Okada operators that this could spiral the unemployment situation, which is bad for an election year, for example.
What you talk about election year thing is convenience. For convenience, people overlook everything. For political gain, people overlook everything. If it will suit them, if you give them votes. But the truth of the matter is, there's no such thing as Okada operators anywhere. If you decide to hop on a motorcycle, it's like taking a ride from a friend. That's what the law knows. You know, if you choose to take a ride from a friend, you cannot expect that the law will recognize you as a passenger. You cannot expect the motorcycle to be insured, to give you a cover as a passenger. Those are the things that we're taking, those responsibilities that the state would otherwise take to itself. That's what we are absolving the state from. The state would not take responsibility for those who use motorcycles because actually, let's be frank, it will be difficult to police those who go around parading as Okada operators because after all, it's difficult to differentiate between a motorcycle owner who is offering a lift to a friend voluntarily, a friend who voluntarily agrees to ride as a pillion rider, from a person who says, I'm paying you to provide a service. When a person hops onto a passenger vehicle, there are responsibilities of the passenger vehicle owner. There are responsibilities. But when you hop behind a motorcycle as a pillion rider, nobody assumes responsibility for you. You take all your risk with you. That's the difference.
Honorable Osei-Owusu, we would have you to hold on. I'll come back into the studio. To you, Mr. Akolache, you heard the Honorable. He made some very fair comments on the concerns by the Okada drivers, Okada operators. One, the legality of your association and your existence in the first place. And he's also saying that out of convenience and out of political reasons, anybody can say anything. But the core issue here is safety. Your reaction?
Yeah, I'm very happy that the Honorable has made a remarkable point. My reaction to this issue is that, first and foremost, you can't respect your right and disrespect your left, because both hands are very important in the human body. My problem is that the question put across to the Honorable when he said, who are they? This group of people are Ghanaians who are also stakeholders, who needs employment. It is not the fault of any government or any administration that a country do not have enough employment for people. But the issue here is that it is very important that every citizen has something doing, so that these are a group of youth guys who are idle, who can indulge themselves in other social vices, which will not augur well for
But do you appreciate Honorable Osei-Owusu's concerns about safety, that this law is about safety? As much as I appreciate safety issues, if you want to compare safety to even passenger vehicles, you can see the number of accidents that tipper trucks and stuff like that cause on the road. About 50, 16, 20 people dying on the spot and stuff like that. If we want to quantify all these issues, where do we come with safety near Okada riding? But are your operations legal?
Like I said, our attention was drawn to that there is a law in the country that states that you cannot use motorbike for commercial purposes. That is why we petitioned to Parliament for them to do a redress. When we went to Parliament, the majority and minority leaders came to, even advise other institutions to emulate what the association has just done, to be law-abiding. They've come to Parliament to seek for redress on issues that they think is, important to their progress. And we were expecting that when Parliament went into the issue, they would write back to us or even call us and tell us their position on issues that they find about what we brought to them. But they did not tell us anything. To our surprise, we just heard the announcement on air that this is the position of the law, and this is what they think they've passed for the benefit of the whole nation. But without considering the aspect of unemployment situation, and I'm of the view, or the association is of the view, that if you want to pass a law, or you've given your room to somebody, you want to eject the person from the room, at least if you give him a time frame, then he can prepare himself for an alternative something. The government at the moment has not done anything alternative to get these guys something doing, because we have a background information that brought this Okada thing from our organization or our association. And what happened was that once upon a time, there was this young guys from nowhere, Accra Central, they come to stop people's car, enter the car, and then with knives, take away their bags, and then ride off with the motorbikes. So a group of guys from Accra Central decided that no, when these things happen and they boot away, they come to arrest innocent guys around. And we have to go to the police station, appeal with the police for them to look at the human aspect and realize that these guys are innocent. Although they are smoking weed, they push drive around, they are not the kind of people who does those things. So we decided that we should form some vigilante group so that we'll make sure we'll prove to the police around that the guys living in Accra
That your
Central,
operation is of good intention.
Yes. So by so doing, the Kole Lagoon rehabilitation started. So it was there the traffic congestion was so bad that the passengers themselves used to appeal with those guys who go around with their motorbike, checking on those who are attempting or trying to rob people from their cars and stuff.
So your argument is that your services are beneficial?
Very beneficial, very lucrative too. And also it's helping a lot of people. And these guys goes to save monies in various banks for people, because when they are sending your money to the bank, people cross you and take away the money from you. So it's very safe for you giving it to these Okada boys to send to the bank before you come and do your. You see, that's what
We're discussing the issues surrounding the passage of a legislative instrument which totally outlaws the commercial operation of motorbikes. Now, DSP, you heard Mr. Akolache saying that the services, his association, which I've been informed is the Ghana Private Motorbikes Operators Union, provides, is beneficial to the society. What does the law say about the operation of commercial motorbikes in the first place?
All right. Quoting from the law specifically says that or precludes the DVLA from registering motorcycle or tricycle or quadricycle from being used for commercial purpose. And in other words, the law specifically says that you cannot use such vehicles to carry a fare-paying passenger. And basically that is what it says. And but with regard to this law, there are so many offenses that the law outlines with regard to the use of motorcycle. Because with regard to using it for commercial purpose, in the first place, the DVLA cannot register them for them to be used in the favor for commercial because they have open sizes. So even the licensing authority have no authority to give them commercial number plates. And I don't know what Akolache's association is, because within the same law, regulation 121, before you get a license to operate, you must apply. And so maybe when you get to that place, you find out where those groupings are going to get their licenses to operate within the jurisdiction of the assembly where they operate. So that's what, but that is what, and the law goes beyond commercialization of motorcycles because of the dangers involved. The law talks about even being used for private purposes. There are certain dangers that may ensue. Therefore, the law seeks to protect Ghanaians who otherwise would like to use motorcycle for their own private purposes. And the first thing it talked about is compulsory protective clothing. And within that omnibus word, we're talking about that any rider from today, because Ghana loves you, you have to have your boot, your riding boot, that police will inspect it. You must wear reflective clothes. Police will inspect it. You must have your elbow cap so that when you fall, you will not get your knee on your limbs chopping off like we are seeing at Kolebu Emergency Center. We want to see that their elbows and knees are all covered. and that their hands, because naturally when you are falling, the first part that gets on the ground, apart from your limb, is your hand. So the law provided that you should have your gloves. Okay, so, and then ultimately your crash helmet. So it's not only the commercialization that the law is seeking, and even when you are on the motorbike, you are supposed to protect yourself because it has open sizes, and when you are falling, it is the human flesh that gets on the ground first. No wonder at all our health centers, the major problem the state has with regard to fatalities, road traffic crash fatalities, are the youth who are getting crashed and getting their limbs amputated. And I'm speaking, and I know those from most of the emergency and accident trauma center who are watching knows this is the fact. And this is a problem that confronts the youth. And therefore, we cannot hide behind economic reasons
or associations
and to commit criminality.
Unemployment.
Otherwise, with this passing of this law on communication, ban on communication, there are a lot are going to raise argument. But because of the benefit of ICT associated with communication, using your mobile phone and all that, that has eliminated the geographical extent. People will say they will be losing their businesses because they want to operate.
Now, let me quickly go back onto
the issue of economic is a bit problematic because we are talking about the right to life, which supersedes economics.
So the issue of economics, unemployment is neither here nor there.
The problem we have with regard to the motorcycle is with attendant road crashes and these motorcycle-related injuries and deaths, which is gaining ascendancy. And within my traffic policing pursuit over this short period, I've seen things for myself. I've taken a walk to Kolebu Accident Center all the time, and we see it. Go and see either they are sent in dead, or majority of them, the youth have their limbs amputated. And that is a problem for the state, and for all of us, and for families. And we must find solution. And one solution is to ensure that some of these best practices are emulated. And also, that's why even within this transitional zone where we have adopted the posture of proactive policing, we're going to, spew out information that will appeal and appeal
and
to
encourage people
them
to
and
go by.
Because we're going to also employ this community traffic policing concept to get them on board. Before Okada, people were working and people were living.
Let me go back quickly to Honorable Joe Osewusu, MP for Bekwai, member of the Subsidiary Legislative Committee. Sir, if you're still there, a lot have been said, including the fact that the talk about motorbikes is not only about commercial operations, but about safety, about wearing the correct gear when you're riding a motorbike. Tell me, is this law the only way we can reduce the frequency of accidents?
First and foremost, accidents, by and large, is as a result of human failure. Our research shows that about 90% of the causes of accidents are human failures. And therefore, if the laws that are being promulgated are implemented to the letter, we'll be eliminating a lot of the part which is due to human failure. And indeed, if we come to mechanical failures, they are first and foremost as a result of human beings failing to do the things that they ought to do. That often result in mechanical failures and so on. So these laws are a guide to ensure that the things that we can avoid, accidents that we can avoid, are indeed avoided.
What about implementation? You mentioned implementation. How is the legislator, or how is the law ensuring that the appropriate authorities are empowered or equipped to implement this law?
You see, when the law leaves the House of Parliament, the legislature, it goes straight back into the executive. And the executives assume the responsibility to ensure that the things that are required to ensure effective implementation are provided to the agencies that are responsible. I believe strongly that the first and the most critical requirement is the willpower. on the part of the human beings that are assigned with the responsibility to enforce the laws. And I think that police service should, for more indication than the discussions we have during the process of going through and promulgating this law, clearly shows that they are willing and capable of implementing these laws. For me, now the ball is squarely within the quarters of the Ghana Police Service, and I'm confident that they are capable of ensuring that the laws are obeyed.
So what does the law say about the use of mobile devices? Let's get it straight. If I use a mobile phone while driving, can I not use a headset?
No, the law does not talk about the headset. The law says, if you go to Regulation 1071, let me try and quote exactly what I have here. Regulation 1071 is clear that a person shall not drive, where did I quote it? A person shall not drive a one moment, please. I'm trying to quote the exact words. So, yes. One moment, please. 1071 of LI12 is a person shall not drive a motor vehicle on a road or a public place while holding, using or operating a cellular or mobile phone or other communication gadget, or with one or both hands. So first and foremost, it has to do with your hands and operating, holding a communication gadget. So if you're not using your hands, then you can use it. I remember correctly when we were discussing this particular section that the issue came. The issue was whether you could use a Bluetooth equipment, which does not require you to use your hand. And a lot of vehicles today, modern vehicles, have sync systems which allow you to communicate freely without having to use your hands. And we all agree that those would not constitute an offense. So here we're talking about holding the device with one or both hands whilst driving. And what I want to assure people is that you can always park and talk, do your communications, and after that continue. Once you're not driving, once you're stationary, you're not committing an offense. Otherwise, then you might have to use hands-free communication.
So let me get it clear. Although the law does not expressly recommend the use of headsets, like handless devices to connect to your mobile phone, for example, Bluetooth, it is not illegal to use these devices connected to your mobile phone.
I say so. It is clear. The hands, the emphasis of the law is the use of one or both hands.
What about video devices on dashboards? That's also captured in the law.
Which one?
Video devices like...
Yes. You cannot use any of those equipment, entertainment equipment, which might get your attention, concentrating on watching a film whilst you're driving. Those are forbidden.
Thank you very much, sir. That was Joe Osei-Wusu, MP for Bekwai and member of the Subsidiary Legislative Committee. Let me come back to you, Mr. Akolache. The arguments that have been going back and forth is that this law is about safety. You also agree that safety is of a big concern to you. Now, as part of the requirements to ensure that driving a motorbike or a moving vehicle is regulated is the fact that you have to acquire a license for that purpose. What would your association be doing about securing a license for your operations to legalize it? Of course, the law doesn't allow you to legalize it. So what are you going to do?
First and foremost, the association made it a point that every member should have rider's license. So all members of the association has rider's license. If you don't have rider's license, you can never be a member of the association. And those who decided to indulge in this Okada operation from our association, what we put in place is that we make sure we put in place certain security measures, because we had certain few problems.
Security measures like,
yes,
I mean, for example, if I went to the market and I bought goods and I flagged you by the roadside and jumped onto your motorbike, you would not be in a position to provide me with a helmet or a safety jacket, would you?
Yeah, the issue is that, you know, for health reasons, you cannot use one jacket for most of the passengers. But what we did is that we realized that initially some of the boys used to, you know, run into people's side mirrors and stuff like that, and then just run away. So what we did is that we provided them with identification numbers and ID cards that they were using initially before our attention was drawn to the law. So we have to withdraw all these security things from them, because we've given them numbers so they can identify themselves with the numbers. When you mention number 16, we know it's Abbas Caesar. When you mention 25, we know it's original, you know, in that order. So that is how they call themselves, by those security numbers. So that when something happens and you think you can just boot away with your bike, when the gentleman sees your number 10, when they report to us, we know where to find
you. If I
you.
get you correct, your whole point is that although the law does not permit you to register for commercial operation of your motorbike, you're doing so anyway, and you're taking all the necessary precautions for which you think the law should be considerate of that.
Actually, our position is not categorically on us doing the Okada operation, but our position is that unemployment is such that a lot of these youth guys their children at school, because they don't have anything to cater for the kids. They are all there in the house. But when they started this business, they are not taking care of their kids. Some of them are using the proceeds in attending polytechnics and universities. We have graduates among us, HND holders among us. It is this business that they do in acquiring those. Some of them are being employed today at certain higher institutions in the country. So since it's helping them doing all these things, we are appealing to the government. We hope it will be a listening government to come to the aid of these guys, and then at least identify areas that something should be done to them, so that at least taking them off the road is our concern. That's the concern of the association. That you don't just send people off the road, create unemployment for them, and you think they can just live and manage their lives. That is what we are looking for.
Now, DSP Obing, you have heard Mr. Akolache. Now, the other question I want to ask you is that, bearing in mind the concerns of Mr. Akolache and his association, how is the police ready to enforce this law the moment it's accented by the president?
I think the law has been done by the sector minister, and for us, as said, we are in transitional zone. We are enhancing educational responsibility and mandate under the law, and the fact that we are doing democratic policing. So we not stampede our road users with it, because we are all stakeholders into this. We are objective is to ensure that we protect ourselves from getting injured and dead needlessly. So that is it, and that is also part of the enforcement, you see, so that people will not commit. Okay, over time, we will obviously be expecting that the state will give us, like the Honorable said, the needed resources that will assist us. For instance, to enforce do any effective enforcement on the use of motorcycle, and I call it the use of motorcycle, because the offenses that are related to the use of motorcycle is not only about commercializing it, but it's like riding without a competent hand. If you don't have license A, you're not supposed to. If you are running red lights, you are supposed to be arrested. If your motorcycle have not insured yourself, or you're not wearing crash helmet or any of the protective clothing, These are all the offences that we'll be looking at. And to do enforcement, we need human resources and then logistical support. And normally I talk about sight and sound of enforcement on motorcycle. Then you see that you need a lot to do the enforcement, detection, how to arrest, how to even impound the motorcycle, how to move it from the point of arrest to the police facility itself. Tells you of how difficult it is. But we are capable, provided the logistics that we need. Will provide. Again, it is coming at a time when most of the offences related to motorcycle will also attract spot fine. And that is also going to be a challenge for them, because some of these things will not need a 2-day investigation. You don't need maybe 1-hour investigation that will warrant people to come and interfere and all that. Quickly, consistent with Regulation 157, the state through police will issue you with a spot fine. You pay to see how, hope that it will deter you so that you don't. So we are ready, except that we don't do effective policing with empty hands on our road. To keep peace on our road, you need to also support the human effort with technological intervention and support.
We have a couple of your messages, and I'll read some of them. Montari Amadou and Kel Smith say that the Okada business should be registered, not banned. And Obin Kwame Kenneth is of the view that he's asking a question: how are the police going to differentiate between a man and his wife on a motorbike, with both of them wearing their crash helmets, and another man using his bike as Okada? And then Kwejo Adai Munumkum says that till we take a firm decision and stop being frightened with a no-vote syndrome, Ghana will mark time till thy kingdom come. Frimpong Sabato Collins believes that many accidents are caused by this Okada business, and they're involved in many robbery cases as well. It must therefore be banned. Charisma Nana Kwame also believes that these Okada riders should give us a break. Irresistible Nathaniel Boachi is asking me to ask the gentleman if he knows how many of the accidents are caused by motorbikes. Even if it will be allowed, it should be in the rural areas. Nicholas Domanumbu also writes that traffic regulations only work in some parts of Ghana like Accra, Kumasi, etc. Come to my village and see 11-seater minibuses carrying 18 passengers and cargo cars carrying passengers are the full glare of the police. Bonte Benjamin, our regular contributor, says the government should be bold and implement such a program and champion it to the latter. The latter without any corrupt move, which might be an embarrassment to the state. Ghana first. And Philip Amate Gauls believes Okada drivers, we need your vote. No, Okada drivers, we don't need your vote, I beg your pardon. And Ado Godfred Kweku also writes that the law banning these folks won't work. I teach in a remote village where Okada is the main means of transport. Do they want me to walk to school every day? Besides, considering the high level of unemployment among the youth, it will be unwise to implement such a law. Kwame Asari also writes that Okada is in itself evil, so they should not threaten us with their votes. Yakubu Habilla also says that this shows how lazy our minds are. What brought the Okada business in the first place? Instead of finding a solution to the traffic problems, you are there passing unnecessary laws on impulse. With regards to banning phone calls while driving, it's in the right direction. And Opong Solomon says that we, those on the Aflao border, have merited from this Okada transport since our roads are not good. This seems to be the fastest and safest type of transport. Mumuni Rashid says, well, for the Okada in our cities, please let's advise ourselves and collectively support the police service to put a stop to it. It's not safe for us, but the government should work around the clock just to make sure our traffic problems are solved amicably. We'll come back to the studio now to you, DSP Obing. We were discussing, we were talking about enforcement before we went on a commercial break. And you've mentioned that a lot of education will start. Now, apart from that, how, I asked that question, I didn't quite get a clear answer. How well equipped is the police service to enforce this new law?
I think first, we are positioning ourselves because we are committed to the mandate and responsibility to ensure safety on our roads in terms of enforcement mandate. However, we know that there are existing thieving challenges. It has to do with human resource and then logistics. That is a fact. And I hope the coming into effect of this law, it will be accompanied by the needed logistical needs so that we'll be able to carry out our mandates to protect the Ghanaian. So that's it. Logistics are obviously needed with regard to vehicles, because if this law is coming with spot fine and it is national, then we have to ensure uniform enforcement, and therefore police must be seen almost everywhere. And motor traffic enforcement normally is not situational. Sometimes it is snappy and you must be motorized. So motorcycles and motor vehicles are needed. And at the same time, being attracting, most of it attracting spot fines, you will need evidence gathering tools to determine whether the one you have arrested actually committed offense, and there is existence of evidence in support of the fact that you say he has committed before you can even trigger police process of arrest.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Akolache, for your final word, but I'll read a couple more of our messages from our viewers who do go through a lot of trouble to send us their messages. Matthew Kofi Opong Aka believes that some Ghanaians, well, he writes that some Ghanaians, why would anyone choose talking on phone while driving over the safety of other human lives? A good law passed. And then Irresistible Nathaniel Boachi says these guys ride without observing traffic regulations, causing accidents and chaos. Tell the man to go to the accident centers and see riders with head injuries, and he's a joke. Edward Osebonsu says that personally, I think this law enactment is very laudable, and I'm really happy for this intervention. I commend the government for that, which I think is a step in the right direction. So far as vehicular accident on our roads is concerned, Legal One also says this decision should come at the early stage when government came into power. Such enforcement at a time when the first government term is at a closure will only swear off people from voting, even though safety is the hallmark. And Michael Tete also says, applause to the government for taking this decision. Come to Ashaman and see. There are all armed robbers, for the police caught about 500 of them today. Thanks for your message and thanks for keeping in touch with us. Now to you, Mr. Akolache, I'll quickly ask you to wrap. What is going to be the position of your association from today? Are you going to continue to operate illegally?
I don't think so. Right from the day we went to Parliament, we advised all members to hold on. We should be law-abiding. And as you know, some of the youth cannot stay in the house. So some of them, dodge and then do this kind of activity. But for now, we decided to remain silent and look at what the government will say. I don't believe in politicizing issues of the state. I don't believe in that at all. So those of us who think that it's an election year, so governments will take decisions that are right, we have given them the mandate to operate. So if they think there are things that are not right and need to be addressed, we should address it together. That is democracy. Address
it together. And DSP, or being quickly, what should the public expect from the police service with regards to enforcing this law?
First of all, we are positioning ourselves to partner the public to ensure smooth enforcement, and that is an overtime thing, and we have started from the very day the law was passed, and we pray that with our educational pursuit, they will all acquire some. And first, I'm talking to the police officers nationwide. I'm talking about all powerful road users, those who are owning vehicles that This road traffic regulation is otherwise called driver's regulation, and therefore you must have them in all its parts: construction, licensing, registration, use of the road, and compliance to traffic rules and regulations. And in it lies the safety net for our road users, because we need, as a matter of agency, to acquire all the competencies on the road to maximize our safety, because the facts on the ground are not looking good if we don't comply with these rules.
Thank you very much. DSP Alexander Obing says facts on the ground are not very good. And he's the head of research, training, education at the MTTU. And Albert Akolache here is president of the Ghana Private Motorbikes Operators Association. Earlier, we spoke to Joe Osewusu, MP for Bekwai, member of the subsidiary legislation committee of Parliament.